Hello, everybody. This is J.R. Arsenal, and this is my show, Enjoy the Journey. Tonight, we're going to have someone from Australia who's well known there and working on building her reputation stateside. Her name's Leanne Brunson. Excuse me, Leanne Isaacson. And we will go over to her very soon. I just want to get this going. Hello, Leanne. Hello.
Good morning, JR. How are you?
Good. It's been a comedy of errors already. I called you Leanne Brunson, the only other Leanne I've known in my life, and I keep, But anyway, Leanne is someone that is well known in Australia. In fact, she was on the cover of a newspaper with her expertise, and Leanne comes to us with a treasure trove of information and inspiration regarding LinkedIn. Leanne, where did you ever get this? You're a farm girl and now you're involved with this.
Thank you, JR. Look, thanks so much for having me. So, we've all sort of become the masters of time zones. So it's 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning here in Adelaide in South Australia. So yes, I'm in your future, but many people ask me about the lotto numbers, whether I can tell them, because I should already know them, but I don't. So thank you. I certainly my world in online world has been probably long, and I was going to say checkered, but that probably sounds a little bit weird. But I have been a farmer most of my life. Grew up on a farm in rural South Australia, and pretty much so I lived out like on the farm, and moved to Adelaide to go to boarding school, and then worked in Adelaide for about 8 or 9 years, and then went back to the farming area, got married, and became a farmer's wife. So was a farmer's daughter for all my life, but then became a farmer's wife. But part of my journey, like I've always been, which I didn't realize, I've always been a connector, and it's not sort of until the last couple of years that I've particularly come to that realization that I've been like it all of my life. So back in, so I've been online since 1997, and back then in our rural region. So I used to coordinate adult education in our area, because our farm was sort of not one that particularly needed my physical input. Like when I grew up, like it was just mum and dad and we 3 girls, and so mum was very, very much a part of our farm, from a physical labor perspective. Whereas, because my father, it was just mum and dad on the farm. Whereas the farm that I married into had, there was John and myself, but then there was John's father as well. So I wasn't particularly needed as much on the farm, apart from, in the middle of the night, if a cow was calving and was having trouble, many times at 2 o'clock in the morning, we were down in the cattle yards.
Wow.
Helping this cow have a calf. But so I pretty much always worked off farm. And so adult education was something that I just almost fell into. So I sort of started teaching people. So accounting, I had an accounting background. So I sort of started helping people with some study that they were doing, and then I started coordinating all of the adult education in this particular, well, I don't know what the circumference of the region that I covered was. It would have been probably 300, probably 200 mile, like a 200-mile radius, perhaps even more. So right. I used to organise all sorts of things. I'd organise truck license courses for some of the farmers, and uh, we would have courses happen in shearing sheds, in school halls, in football clubs, and so really, like the actual learning space in our whole region was really anywhere that we could find. So I went online in 1997. I had one of our adult education big colleges offer a Certificate 3 in information technology online. Well, back in 1997, like the internet especially in our rural region, it was really at the beginnings. And so I decided that I would sort of get a group of my friends or people that I thought were interested to actually do this course online. And I mean, it was a disaster because our internet access was so slow, and so it became a disaster. But it really probably ignited my passion for online and online learning and opening up things, opening up from a geographical perspective,
Sure.
rather than like just having things delivered, face to face, and being restricted to what we could actually have delivered. So I was the first one in our entire rural region to get an internet satellite dish to actually access the internet. So,
oh my. Leanne, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we have people. Randy Chafee, a mutual friend of ours, grew up on the farm too. And just people just checking in that we know. Robert said hello. Hi, Robert. Hey, everybody. And anyway, you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so Randy, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
I was an early adopter of the internet also. What the heck was on the internet in 1997 that was of an instructional nature? I don't recall that. I was busy shopping for cars and stuff like that.
So back then, like it was well and truly before before Google existed. I think the browser was Netscape, and the mail, there was no Microsoft Outlook or anything back then. I think the mail client that we used was Eudora.
Exactly.
And so it was interesting. Like I somehow fell into like teaching people how to use the internet in 2000. So and here in South, Robert, you sort of look back then and think, oh wow, like it still blows me away, the ability that we have now to
exactly.
Here I'm sitting in Adelaide, South Australia at 10 o'clock in the morning talking to you and to everyone else that's watching in real time, and it's as if you and I are sitting across the kitchen table. Like it still blows me away that we have the technology that we can do what we do.
Wait a minute, you're not here?
No. Oh, no, hang on. We need to adopt.
Okay, I thought you were here.
No, sorry, I'm not.
Well.
So like it sort of became, like a passion of mine to learn and to teach people, hey Charles, to teach people how to actually use the internet. And so I had a job. I had a job with a government department, just literally driving around our whole entire rural region. I had a laptop computer. I had my car. I had a laptop. I had a projector screen, and I used to teach, just drive around and work with all sorts of businesses and just showing them the potential, like the opportunities that the internet could bring. And
you were a cyber evangelist.
Yeah, I was. And in 2004, I got a scholarship, which it's really only now that I sort of think about the significance of it. It was a $30,000 scholarship back in 2004 for me to almost like a professional development scholarship to look at I could design however I wanted this to look. And so I did a lot of experimenting with with technology and with different forms of video conferencing. And like I was, back in 2004, there was a company called Interwise, which had like online meeting rooms. So I was actually back in 2004, I was renting online meeting rooms. I was renting them myself and then, leasing them out to other people we were running women in agriculture network meetings across Australia. And so we were doing, so I was doing all sorts of probably really innovative things back in the early 2000s. And one of the things that, sorry, got a question?
Oh, no, but in the 90s, I actually was involved in a virtual classroom where there was and I controlled the camera because there were 8 of us around our group. This was for management recruiters. And then everybody's seat, we had to pre-focus. So if you were speaking, I'd have to push a button that said Leanne's. But we were in 6 different places in the United States, all in the same. It was quite amazing to be in a virtual classroom in the 90s.
Yeah, it was. And I'm not sure about you, but I think, like I look now and I'm not sure that we perhaps realized back then the significance of what we were doing and the amount that we were learning and how we would apply that, for the next 20 whatever years. So,
sure.
Okay.
So when I should have looked this up and been clever, but I forgot. LinkedIn was launched when?
So
it seems like forever.
So I think it was. So when I got this scholarship back in 2004, it probably gave me the opportunity to be exposed to a lot of other different people across Australia that were doing a lot of stuff in online learning and online technology. And I remember, it would have been around, and I can't remember exactly when Twitter said it sort of first came into being. But, I remember being with a group of, like these people that had got the same scholarship, and they were talking about Twitter and, how they were tweeting about what they had for dinner and what they had for lunch. And I'm thinking, why would anyone want to do that? But I know that I probably created a Twitter account back then. So it was 2007 that I first joined LinkedIn. October 2007. And back then, I think LinkedIn had a membership base of I was member number 16 million and something. Like back then you used to be able to easily find it. Now it's well and truly buried. You can still find your member number, but it's well and truly buried in code. But yeah,
you could share, like I had 500 back then and somebody else had 600, whatever. And I said, well, if we share our groups now, that you can't do that anymore, but you could do that back then. So you could build your base easily.
Yeah. And that's right. Like in some ways it was harder to connect, but in other ways it was easier to build a network. So, there was good and bad things back then. But so, I joined in 2007 and I sort of just fiddled around with it. Didn't really do a great deal. And so it was probably 2012 that I started to learn. I'll just flip back a second. So 2008, I put our farming business entirely. So we created a new farming business. We were selling lucerne hay or alfalfa hay and cereal hay to the horse industry.
Oh,
so I decided.
I thought you were talking about cars. I had an alfalfa Romeo once.
No, alfalfa hay, a square bale of hay. But what I decided to do, I started learning more about online marketing and social media and all of the sort of the stuff that we know now. And I was learning that in 2008. So I created a business called Currency Creek Fine Fodder, which was a complete business from scratch. Put that. I registered a domain name called lucernehayforsale.com.au. I installed a website myself onto that domain. I installed Google Analytics onto that. So like this was all stuff that I was learning and I was applying it, like to our farming business. So I ended up getting to like that farming business, that particular business. I marketed our produce completely online. I didn't sell it online, but it was all marketed. Hey, Ken, how are you?
Guess who's here? Okay. Now we got to make believe we're professionals.
Hey, Ken. And
Hey,
you've
Ken.
taught us everything we know, you've taught us. We've probably forgotten, JR, to ask people to share it out.
Well, we're going to get to that because we should share it out, and people should like this and they should subscribe. And that's actually, I've still got my training wheels on for those people, but it's a lot of fun. And Leanne makes me look good, which is quite an accomplishment.
So I joined. So a lot of my learning over the years has been just part of me going, I wonder how that works, and I wonder what applications that can have. So so in 2012 I was learning even more about online marketing, and so I made a conscious decision that I would grow my LinkedIn network. And at the time, I didn't know how big it was going to grow, but I made a conscious decision that I would connect with anyone that wanted to connect with me.
Nice.
Because I figure in our real lives, like I don't walk into a networking event or into somewhere and not shake hands with someone until I know who they are and what they do. You shake hands first, then you have a conversation. So I've always treated my LinkedIn network like I'm shaking hands with someone. So that's what a connection is to me. And, I've sort of always had the philosophy that you never know who someone knows that you could help or they could help you, or, that you could be of assistance to. So that's really just been my philosophy. And so I built my network over sort of between 2012 and 2015. I grew it. I had 25,000 connections by 2015. So
let's take a little rabbit trail here, because the last time I heard you talk, you were talking about the power of networking. In other words, those are people you've invited, but they know other people and they know other people. It's like rings. And so that 30, I guess there's a 30,000 ceiling of membership on number ones.
There is.
Going out exponentially to the third, what was that number? 16 million or something like that is what I recall.
Yeah. So the way that LinkedIn works is you're directly connected to one person.
Right.
And so they're your first level connection. So, they're your friends. And
exactly.
then the friends have friends of their own. So because you and I are friends, then all of my first level connections become your second level connections.
Nice.
And vice versa. So say if someone had 100 connections, so then if you and I connected, so if you had 100 connections, then I would immediately have, by connecting with you, 100 extra people in my second level network. So, and then their friends become your third level network. So it's really, it's almost like cousins. You've got your first cousin, and then you've got your second cousin, and then you've got your third cousins. And it's probably not too many people know who their third cousins are, but like they've got that relationship. So that's really the power of LinkedIn, in that once you're connected, then you have that association with their network as well.
So I'd go and I don't know, for lack of better terminology, since we're both first level friends, then I could go and check out everybody that's your group of friends because I'm first level. And then if there's somebody in Allied Chemical or whatever that I wanted to network with, then you
Yep.
could refer me. And that's one of the many powers of LinkedIn, to my thinking.
That's right. So, I could certainly, if you, for example, found somebody in, that was a second level connection of mine, then you could reach out to them and potentially, depending on what the context of it was, you might have looked at their profile and looked at their activity and seen one of the posts that they, had made. So because, we've got that second degree connection, you are able to actually see that. And then you could send them a connection request saying, the LinkedIn has given us a mutual our mutual connection, Leanne Isaacson, has allowed me to even discover your profile and I'm just talking off the top of my head at, like what you might say.
Exactly.
But yes, so that's exactly how it works.
So have you done that? Okay, here's one of my bombs from out of nowhere. Have you done this type of thing, and what's happened, and what were the good stories and bad stories?
Absolutely. It's one of those things I always talk about. Your second level network as that's where you find the gold, because quite often you connect with someone. There's not as many people that have my philosophy that I'm prepared to connect to anyone. I've probably become, because LinkedIn do have a ceiling of 30,000
right
first level connections, which, nothing like first world problems. I can't have more than 30,000 connections. But what, again, what that does is that enables me to have a whole range of I think I've got 6 million second level connections across the world. So
wow.
there's a lot of potential people that I can find and have already, like that tiny level of connection with, because we've got a mutual connection. So I quite often will, if I happen to see someone might have, a post might come into my news feed, and that might be one of my connections. And then if I look at that post, then there might be one of their connections that's, made a comment on it, or have an opinion or something like that. And so then I'll start to interact with that person, like on the post, and I'll have a look at their profile. And if it's someone that I find interesting, or with me, curiosity always plays a big part in almost everything I do. And
Nice.
I'm always thinking, I wonder, like that sits in my head all the time. I wonder. And so, yeah, like I've connected with some amazing people. And one of the stories that I quite often tell is, I have a friend who I met sort of, like online through a platform called Blab, and that's how Ken and I first met on, back in 2015, I think. But he so he's in Colorado, and had created a cartoon series that the BBC in London were looking at potentially picking up as an animation series. And he'd had it animated in London, and he sent me a message one day asking whether I could find him a lawyer that specialised in media and entertainment law in London. And so I said, yeah, that's fine, I can do that. So, like I did some really strategic searches on, the industry, on, lots of keywords. And I sort of narrowed it down, and I had a look at, some of the profiles of the lawyers that fitted this particular criteria. And there was one lady that, I'd sort of looked at a lot of what she'd, the collateral that she had online, not necessarily just on LinkedIn, but, then I'd done more of a search on other things. And I decided that I thought that she was probably the one that would match what he needed the best. And so I reached out to her. I sent her a connection request, effectively cold. So, sent her a connection request saying, hey, I have a client, and this is what this is the scenario. Would you be interested in connecting with me and then connecting with him? And she sent me, she accepted the connection request straight away, and I put the two of them together. So yeah. So again,
sometimes that doesn't work, but this time it did. But you got to try.
And I think, like it also comes down to really having an understanding of who the person, trying to get as much information and understanding of who the person is that you're reaching out to, if it's to do something like that. I mean, as far as just generally connecting, like I always add a personalized invitation, like a personalized connection request to any connection that I make. Occasionally I might maybe get a little bit, if I know sort of someone and they know me, I might just hit the connect button and just fire off the invitation. But generally, I send a personalized connection request with every connection that I make.
So I got a question. You're already at the limit at 30K. That's as big as the bucket is, and you can't put a drop in. So at that point, you're eliminating things from the past that are sort of, because you got to do something. I mean, when Joe Soto added me, he had to, I shouldn't have said it, but I mean, if you're at that 30K and if there's stuff in the past that's not reacting with you for a year or longer.
So I certainly have culled. It sounds terrible, doesn't it?
No,
that clearly is a farm term. But yeah, like it. So yes, certainly, and I sort of got to the stage where I left a couple of hundred just under the 30,000, so nice. I could accept people. Like I could make connections that I really wanted to, and then I sort of deleted a few, and so I sort of, like. Every now and then I'll think, why is that connection, why is that connection not why is it not connecting us? And then I'll go and look and realize that it's 30,000. So I'll have to go and delete a few so yeah, it,
I don't mean that, but I have a question regarding approaches on that, because I'm thinking I've done 3 ways where there's somebody whose articles interest me. And I want to hook up with them on LinkedIn and be friends on LinkedIn. But they're like way up the food chain. So I kind of go at that slow, and you'll interact and you might send them an article or 2. You've got a bookmark of, hey, everybody, it's okay to have goals, and it's okay to know where, if you don't know where you're going, guess what? You're already there. Yeah. But, my goal was with certain strategic people that are centers of influence. So that's how I got, and most of the time it worked. Sometimes they're too busy and they're like, oh, I might be a flea on the back of an elephant, but I am the one that they're noticing, and they're either flicking me off or going, okay, come on for the ride. So that's the one. And the other is like what you said, with just the direct approach where you don't really cultivate anything. You just like, what's up? I'm Leanne and I do this and I think you could. And so either one I see is valuable depending on the scenario that you're doing.
Yeah, it does. And it does depend on, it depends on the person and what your outcome is. Like often I will connect with people with no intended, with no outcome particularly in mind. It might just be that I think they're an interesting person. I wouldn't mind finding more, being connected to them. And one of the things that probably over the years that and again, I think it's probably from my farming background, that sometimes you'll plant a seed, but what you do is you decide which field you're going to plant the particular seed in, and you decide what seeds you're going to plant, and you plant those seeds, and you know that the particular seed that you're planting is not going to mature for 5 years. So you know that you're planting it to to reap that in 5 years' time.
Right.
And
you're not picking up the soil and inspecting and seeing what's there because it's going to kill it. So you let it germinate and water it occasionally and blah, blah, blah.
that's right. But then also, you know, that some seeds that you plant, you can nurture them all the same. They get the same sunlight, the same rain. Some seeds grow, some seeds die, some seeds grow faster than others, some won't. So that's probably, you know, how I sort of think about my network. You know, there are certain, like, I don't always have an expectation that something is going to grow quickly, or, you know, clearly I've got 30,000 people that I'm directly connected to, but I don't have a relationship with every one of those 30,000 people. So, but one thing that I do know is that I am, if at any point in time that person, any of those people have something that they think that I can help them with, or I'm always sort of connecting people with other people. So that's probably what I sort of tend to use my LinkedIn, my network more for, is connecting other people with other opportunities. So and again, you just, you know, a lot of people, and I'm not sure what the percentage is. So LinkedIn has about 700 million members.
Mm-hmm.
So 700 million profiles, but I think there's not even half of the people that have profiles on LinkedIn that are active every day or every week or every month. So, you know, and I think that's one thing that people also perhaps don't take the time. So, you know, like I might connect with Paul,
Right.
and send him a connection request, but might not realize that Paul hasn't actually logged into LinkedIn or been active on LinkedIn the last 30 days. So the likelihood that Paul's actually going to see that connection, he might not even see that for 6 months. So it's sort of also, you know, having the knowledge to be able to work out whether someone's active on LinkedIn and whether they're not, because, you know, there's no point sending a connection request to somebody that doesn't even look at LinkedIn or doesn't use it.
Okay, so on that subject, and I've been guilty of this because I've gone down other paths where LinkedIn wasn't a big component of what I was doing. Unlike when I was in international recruiting, where I was very active back then. When you post on LinkedIn, you have to show the stream is moving by things are there. Otherwise, you're a stagnant pond.
Yep.
What's the velocity and what's the width of that water body? In other words, how often are you recommending somebody that is not a LinkedIn guru, who's not trying to be the big consultant or whatever, but just trying to keep it rolling for the rest of us?
So I am not a great content creator. So
okay.
I don't post on LinkedIn every day because, again, you know, like what I use LinkedIn for is building one-on-one relationships, not necessarily publicly. So, you know, I have conversations and build relationships more through direct messaging and then offline. So, you know, whether it might be a you know, like a virtual conversation. So I'm not necessarily, you know, like I'm not there to be a content creator. So
right.
Sort of, again, depends on what your outcome is as to, you know, what your presence on LinkedIn looks like. So in answer to that question, I do go on. So I go on LinkedIn every day, and I will have a look at my feed. I might, you know, there's a few people that I know that they do great content. So I'll quite often interact on, have a look and see what posts they've put up and interact on their posts. And so probably, posting something twice, once or twice a week is,
Nice.
is really useful. But, if you're wanting to say grow your network, you don't have to do it fast. Like I worked out that with my, say, 30,000 connections, that's the length of time that I've been on LinkedIn. That works out at 7 connections a day for the last 13 years. So,
Nice.
it's not, it doesn't have to be really fast. But so, I would probably suggest that people say make 10, send 10 connection requests a day, which, look, again, it doesn't take that long, as if you know how to search properly, and so you can do a search, and then you can say have a connection request message. I quite often use Evernote, so I'll have a connection request that I can then just literally cut and paste into a message, but then
Sure.
I will personalize it for the person. So, if you spent 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn, both sending some connection requests, have a look and interacting with some posts, and, making a post yourself, say once or twice a week, then, for most people, that's enough to actually start to get their LinkedIn presence happening.
And so it's basically, without getting into the nuts and bolts too great, but your Evernote boilerplate, if you will, that you are using, you're not just hitting hi, I'd like to connect, but you're,
Right.
because I do that too. I put a note with it, and because otherwise I'm just, hey, I'm just another pretty face, but
Exactly. And, like LinkedIn when LinkedIn first, came into being, I think LinkedIn started in 2003.
yes.
So I, joined in 2007. And like back then, you couldn't actually connect with someone unless you said that unless they were either a friend or a colleague, or you had to,
You had to,
at
yeah,
that point in
the
time,
connection.
say how you knew the person. And so, you used to quite often take the punt thinking, oh, I hope they're happy to say that I'm their friend. So, you used to take that punt. So it's almost though come a full circle. Like there's really only 2 places on LinkedIn that you can guarantee when you hit connect that you're going to have the opportunity to send a connection, personalize the message. And one of them is you had on say your desktop, that you
Sure.
actually go to the person's profile
Yes.
and hit connect from there. And then what that will do is it will bring up the, do you want to add a note? So
Right.
going to their profile and hitting connect, it will ask whether you want to add a note to your connection. You don't have to, but
It's smart.
That's the place, because anywhere else on desktop, if you hit connect, it will just fire the message off without you having the opportunity to send a request, send a message.
Okay, so I just came up with a weird idea here as I'm listening. Some of us are doing videos where we're embedding through Hippo Video, or some people don't want to spend the money, which isn't that much. But anyway, they're just using like a Zoom, popping that in. Do you think that it would have any value putting a video message versus a?
So you can't put an actual video message into a connection request.
So you do that after the confirmation, and you go, "What's up? Thanks for the friend, and oh, by the way, if you need anything, I'm here," and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. So once you're connected to someone, then absolutely Hippo Video interacts with LinkedIn. So you can from your LinkedIn messaging, if you're you've got the premium Hippo video subscription, then you can send a Hippo video direct from within LinkedIn. But even if you don't have it directly interacting, like you can put the link of a Hippo video into a message on LinkedIn. So I certainly do that a lot. And I think it's really, some people say sending a video in a message is not the best thing because, if someone happens to be listening to, like looking at their LinkedIn at work, they're not going to be wanting to have the sound on or something like that. So, there are certainly people that think sending video is a good idea and that sending videos not. But
experimentation. I wanted to invite the people that are watching. First of all, thank you for watching. And you know what you have to do? You have to like, because she's giving great advice. But are there questions out there of things that you would like to know out there in the vast audience that's viewing us right now? I'd certainly invite questions, specifics, because you've got somebody here that charges a ton of money to consult, and you're going to get it for free. Come on, it's a good deal.
And what I probably can say is, there's some really important things that you need to have sorted on your profile. So you need to make sure that you have a really good profile photo that is of your face that oh, my accent.
Love Charles.
Charles, I know. I think that I'd like to give Glenn credit for teaching me all of the voice skills that his Australian accent, but I have perfected it, really, haven't I?
You've done quite well. Now, Glenn is her beau, and it's
Glenn Morshower.
Oh, Glenn Morshower. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, no. Glenn.
What's the name of? She's engaged and she's going to get married pretty soon. And of course, Glenn Morshower. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks tomorrow. Boxing Day is the day. But yeah. So it's really important to have like a really good profile photo and one that people can see your eyes and that they can see your smile. And, you don't have to be sitting there with this huge, great, cheesy grin, but, having people being able to see your eyes and, like a close-up of your face, it just adds to that, like the know, like, and trust factor. And so your profile photo and your headline are two of the things that follow you wherever you go on LinkedIn. And, people make decisions in a split second. So if you can have a good photo and your headline that, either mine has a bit of a combination. So I sort of have my elevator pitch or unique selling, my unique selling proposition, but I also have some keywords in my headline as well. So mine's a bit of a combination. So because your headline automatically defaults to your current role in your current job. So exactly. One of the really useful things that I've also discovered that so there's a version of LinkedIn called Sales Navigator, which is what a lot of recruiters, sales, like it's the next level up, and so you have a lot more variety of search parameters and things like that. One thing that I've noticed is that when your profile is brought up in Sales Navigator, it's not your headline that shows, it's your current role in your current job that shows on LinkedIn Navigator. And I don't think on Sales Navigator, I don't think I've heard anybody ever say it. But so what I think is probably a good idea is you almost duplicate your headline in your current role of your current job. Then that way, anyone that's looking at your profile on normal LinkedIn is going to see your headline, And anyone that just happens to brings you up in a search in Sales Navigator is going to see that same headline, because it's going to sort of reflect that in your current role of your current job.
And one thing I did many years ago was I was contemplating a career change. So there's no rule against rewriting your LinkedIn profile to where you want to be, because, you know, faith is the substance of things not yet seen, right? And the evidence of things you're not yet experiencing. Anyway, the thing about it was I was talking to somebody and they looked on my LinkedIn while we were talking about something else, and they said, "Oh, you do this, this, and this." And basically, I think over 90% of all the hires, especially new hires out of college, if anybody's watching in that, or if you've got kids or grandkids, that is a very integral part of the whole process. And people say, oh, they go to Facebook first. Well, actually, they go to LinkedIn first, and they see what sort of content you have. And speaking as a master craftsman photographer, it doesn't cost that much, because photographers have lost their minds and they're giving their work away now because everyone's a photographer. You need a professional photography thing.
Yeah.
You just can't have one of these things with the dog or cut out with you and whoever at the whatever. You need garbage in, garbage out. And I've always maintained that on the picture, with the new grads, because I had a couple of colleges back before the COVID thing where I go shoot headshots, and it was fun because you're with pre-law people that are about to go out and stuff. And I tried to photograph them, a great deal of success in some cases, like they were already a partner at a firm, as opposed to the, hi, look at me, you know, and that picture is so important.
That's a really good point. And one of the things that I say to people, I mean, I work with all sorts of people, whether they're, you know, like looking for jobs, or whether they're businesses that, you know, like are looking to establish, you know, like new leads. And so I work with a range of people. But one of the things that for people that are looking for, you know, particular jobs is I say, have a look at some of the jobs that you're wanting to say, you know, be considered for, or in the field that you're looking, and model your LinkedIn on the language that's used in the job advertisements and the job and person specifications, and also see what skills they're looking for and make sure that they're skills that are listed in your profile. So then when you're actually applying for, say, a job on LinkedIn, what LinkedIn does is actually matches the skills in your profile with the skills that they're actually looking for in that job. So almost mirroring the language that they're using in, you know, the job advertisement and also in the job and person. I'm assuming that's what they're called in the top of the world, job and person description. So modeling your LinkedIn profile on the language that's being used in the, you know, the jobs that you're actually looking for.
Well, here's a little tip from somebody who was in career reengineering as a profession for a while until that vaporized. And you start, you know, like Stephen Covey, the 7 effective habits of highly effective people. You start with the end in sight.
Yep.
And so what's the end? Well, it's like if you're applying for a job, what you do is you look at the job application and the description, and you put as many of those buzzwords in your personalized cover sheet as possible, because it's not some very intelligent person. It's usually a gum chewing assistant that is still talking about the high school beer blasts or whatever on the breaks. And they're just looking for keywords.
Yeah,
and there's bots that are out there looking for keywords.
Yep.
So if you can see, they're telling you how to win the game, and they're giving you the script. And so if you just model yourself after that, no matter what you're doing, you're 80% there.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
right. Um,
that's my rant.
the other thing that is really important is to have the about section written. It used to be the summary. It's called your about section now. And so have that written in the first person. So,
Yes,
that you're actually talking to someone. Yeah, Charles, absolutely. Just, contribute bits of knowledge on, like your real estate sales, but also then start to interact with, like with other people that would have your clients as their clients as well. So
exactly.
don't always look at people within, either your same industry or just your client target. Connect with people that have got your client target in their network as well. So it's that second degree of connection that is where you can find people that you would never have come across.
Precisely. It's called widening your sphere of influence.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, boy, the time's just flying. I want to let's sort of sum things up here. Um,
So I suppose, like from, like a day on a day-to-day basis, just go onto LinkedIn every day. The other thing that where I said there were two places. So the other place to actually always guarantee you can send a connection request, a personalized connection request, is using your mobile app.
yes,
So again, go on your mobile, on the mobile app, go to the person's profile and don't hit connect there, but there's three buttons, three little dots. And if you hit that on their profile, it will bring up a drop down list. There'll be a few options, but one of them is send personal invitation. So it's your desktop actually on the person's profile, and you hit connect from there, and then also on your on the mobile device. You're welcome, Michelle. Thanks for joining.
yes, thank you.
Um, so so make sure so do that. Make sure that you've got a really good photo. And the other thing is the cover. Your hero image across the top of your profile. That's another piece of real estate that you can use to either have information about what you do on there. The other thing is there's a name pronunciation. So if you look at my profile, there's like a little speaker next to my name, and if you hit that, what that is, it's intended to be a name pronunciation, but you've got 10 seconds, so it's a great way of being able to give people a 10-second, firstly a snippet of your voice, but also you can get in 10 seconds of who you are and what you do. So that's and you can only add that from the mobile app. You go into
Nice.
edit profile, and it's called name pronunciation. So there are a few tips.
Well, listen, it's been great, and I really appreciate you taking the time. What I'm going to do is put you, number one, thank you for your time, and stay in the waiting room for just a little bit. I'm going to finish up here. Well, I hope everybody learned something from that and got some inspiration. I certainly did. Leanne is a very dynamic person, and I'm going to have other people in other fields that are equally knowledgeable and fun. Please like what we did, if you do, and hope you did. And any comments would be great, and subscribing would be absolutely lovely. I plan on having people. My three things are cars, career, and cameras. And the fourth thing is Christ, but we're not going to get into religious stuff. I would love to have you along the journey with me, because we're coming up in a really exciting time. There's a lot of things that are being changed, and where there's great change, there's great opportunity for those that are prepared. And I'm preparing for the future. I hope you are. I'm looking forward to seeing you. And once again, I'm hoping that you're going to enjoy the journey.